I love finding out things about royal family, you know. There's sort of quirks that you and I have no idea about. And I think the bigger thing is that you kind of think you know everything. And then just every now and again, a new secret comes out. No, we're not talking, of course, about the Duke of York, Prince Andrew. Not interested in that. I like the real quirky things, don't you? You know, when you find out, for instance, that the Queen used to love a drop scone. What's a drop scone? Well, look that up. Fabulous recipe. But the other side of the coin is, as I say, behind the scenes, what goes on in the mechanism of the revolving door of Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, Kensington Palace, and many other places. Well, let me explain. Morning, good to see you. Thank you so much as ever for your time. And can I just thank you, by the way, if you like these sort of nostalgia history videos that we like to put together from time to time for you. What I like about those is when we find something out like the Lily Langtry story. A lot of the ladies commented, and quite a few of the fellas actually, in the comments said, you know, she was very bright. She was very bright, you know, because obviously she knew she was never going to become queen. She knew that. She knew Edward VII was never going to marry her. But what did she do? She exploited the whole thing to her own advantage. And that's not a bad thing in the sense of that she knew what she was getting and he knew what he was getting. Fabulous necklace, though. I'm so glad. Many of you ladies said, by the way, oh, it's a little bit garish. You have to think about the time. You see, everything moves on, doesn't it? It's a little bit like this particular story I wanted to share with you. Now, as many people know, Buckingham Palace actually has its own post office. Oh yes, there's no queuing up with your pension book there, let me tell you. You can literally just go in and everything's sold for you. There's an army of people that basically, you know, write in, look after all the letters. And you might say, well, does that still happen in the digital email world? It certainly does, let me tell you. And the king receives literally thousands of letters every year, as you can imagine, and he likes to reply to as many as possible. But did you know this? If you are, for instance, shall we say, a personal acquaintance of the king, or indeed, say, another senior member of the British monarchy, what you have to do to make sure that your letter gets opened by, say, the king or maybe Princess Anne, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, something like that, if you put your initial, and I'm giving a little secret away here, in the sort of far left corner, that's normally looked at by somebody and they realise that this is a personal correspondence, and that can be the pile that can be opened by an equerry or perhaps those particular individuals themselves. So if you wanted to go directly to the person, I'm not saying King Charles is going to open it without security checks, let me tell you, but that normally gets to that particular point a little bit faster. Now, because of course of people having to respond back very quickly, I don't know if you also know this, but there is a rubber stamp with a signature on. And that means that obviously for the speed, say if it's a gift or something like that, and the king wants to thank you, obviously they will let him see the letter, he knows where it's from. But for the speed and sort of sense of urgency, that may be rubber stamped. Not very rare, but can be. What I found fascinating also about the mechanics of the royal palaces, whether it be Windsor, Buckingham, Kensington, is how they recruit their staff. Now, did you know, for instance, that if you are one of the main assistants, they're not called servants and people like that, they are assistants to the royal family. Well, when you're vacuuming, you know, hoovering, do you know, and get this, that you have to hoover backwards like that? You're not allowed to hoover forwards, and that's because they don't want marks left on the carpet. So when you go in, say on a big palace event, well, that's why the carpet looks fabulous. A little trick you could do yourself, right? Now, I never knew this until I was looking into this, that the footmen have to be 5'9" tall and preferably have a 36-inch chest. That's because they have to be able to fit into the existing uniforms, which cost as much as £2,000 each, even in today's money. Some of them, though, on the ceremonial things, actually date back to the reign of King Edward VII. So you can imagine you're surrounded by all that wonderful food, luxury, wines, treats, all that sort of stuff. But even you have to maintain a certain look. And if you look at a lot of the royal staff, they are very svelte, aren't they? And you look at the uniforms and you think, yes, how come? Well, now you know. Ideally, if you can't get in that, there are rare exceptions, of course, but really they don't want to invest in any more uniforms because these are ceremonial uniforms. So if you want to work for the palace, you better start running, jogging, whatever, and making sure that you look exactly in peak condition, because if not, you won't be able to get into the royal uniform. More secrets to follow soon. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.